spelled Eileen, last name Donoghue.
Thank you. May I proceed, Your Honor?
Please.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Could you please explain what it is that you do for a living?
I'm an attorney and member of the Bar of Massachusetts. I'm currently of counsel to a law firm in the city of Lowell, Gallagher and Kavanaugh, and I'm also a member of the state senate.
How long have you served overall as an attorney?
Since December 1979.
And what kind of work do you do in your practice?
By and large, general practice. Over the years, I've done some criminal law, civil, and some probate.
Have you helped clients in drafting wills in the past?
I have.
How long have you done that particular type of work?
Oh, for the better part of 30 years.
At some point, did you come to know a woman named Erica McGill?
I did.
Could you please describe how you first met Ms. McGill?
In 1996, I was elected as a member of the Lowell City Council, and Mrs. McGill was someone who frequented the city council meetings, and also was a regular call-in to the local radio talk show and so forth. So it was really in that connection that I first met her when she would come to City Hall to attend meetings.
And how did your relationship grow from there?
After a number of years, she was a character, but she was an elderly woman, and at one point contacted my office about getting some advice on redoing her will, and so we got together to do that.
And she became a client of yours?
She did.
Could you describe what happened when your relationship turned into attorney and client?
She lived in the city of Lowell. She would come downtown where my office was located almost on a daily basis. Once in a while she'd stop in and chat with my secretary. If she needed something notarized, pretty infrequent. By and large, her legal needs pretty much centered around preparing a will, and I think that was in the year 2000, and then again in 2010. She didn't have a lot of legal needs, so to speak.
Can I approach her?
Yeah. And I'm putting before you a document. Do you recognize what that is?
I do.
Do you recognize that?
This appears to be a copy of a will, the will I prepared for Erica in July of 2001.
And how do you recognize that as being a copy of the will you?
I had a copy in my file. I recognize my signature as one of the witnesses, and my people who worked in my office as witnesses as well.
I had a copy marked this time.
Okay.
Civil one so marked.
And with respect to the disposition of Ms. McGill's property, what did that state as her intention?
Sorry, Ron, I was not able to hear that question.
With respect to the disposition of Ms. McGill's property, what did the document that you just identified as Exhibit 1 intend to do with the property?
She wanted her entire estate to go to Lucille Christman.
And what was your understanding of who Lucille Christman was?
My understanding was that Lucille Christman was a neighbor of Erica's. They had lived on the same street for 50 plus years. They were best friends, and Erica spent a great deal of her time with Lucille. Erica never had a driver's license, so Lucille would drive her to stores, appointments. I believe Erica would spend holidays. Lucille had a large family, and she would spend holidays. But it was decades-long friendship.
At some point, were you called upon to assist in the drafting of a new will?
I was.
Could you describe how that happened?
Yes. In July of 2010, Erica had fallen in her home, and Erica was a widow and had no family. She apparently broke her hip or had some fracture and was taken to Saints Medical Center. I received a telephone call that she was in Saints Medical Center and wanted to see me. And so as a result of that phone call, I went over to the hospital.
And what took place once you're at the hospital?
When I went to the hospital, Erica was in her room. I met with her for a period of time. She was concerned because the doctors had told her she had to undergo surgery the next day. She had some anxiety about undergoing surgery to repair the hip and wanted to make sure all her paperwork was in order, in case she didn't come through. I brought what I had, which is basically her will, that I had prepared several years before. And she told me that Lucille had already passed away, which I was unaware of. And that since Lucille had passed away, Lucille's daughter, Lisa Mealy, had been taking care of her, kind of stepped into Lucille's shoes, and she wanted to be sure that Lisa would get whatever Lucille would have been entitled to under the will.
I object, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
But it doesn't go to the truth of what it asserts. It's just a verbal act. This is what the deceased said. It doesn't mean that it's true. It's just the fact that she said it. It goes to the deceased's state of mind, at least at the time that this
Thank you.
So,
the way the first will was written, Lisa would not have taken if as a result of her mother having passed away, and so I told Erica would have to do a new will or a codicil. She asked me if we could do that.
And did you take steps to draft a new will or codicil?
I did. Because she was scheduled for surgery the next day. I left Saints Medical Center, went back to my office, prepared the will, which essentially changed just who the beneficiary was to Lisa Mealy as opposed to Lucille Chrisman. Went back to the hospital, brought witnesses, and we signed the will.
Judge, I would object to the submission of this will. I don't know if Ms. Donoghue, Attorney Donoghue, has stated that she had gone back later when the will was actually signed. I know that Attorney Donoghue brought a not notarized will, but I could not hear at the end whether she said she had.
I'll lay it for the foundation.
lay a foundation and determine whether this is
For you, another document, I've asked you to take a moment to look at that. Do you recognize what that is?
I do.
What do you recognize that as being?
I recognize this as being the will that I prepared in 2010, July of 2010, that Erica asked me to prepare and had her sign at the hospital.
You described leaving the hospital, returning to your office to do the drafting. What did you do after you had drafted the revised document?
After I drafted the revised document, I went back to the hospital and I brought my secretary with me, as well as two other individuals to act as witnesses.
And who were those individuals?
The witnesses were Shayla Kennedy and Matthew Gendron, and Beverly Woods was the notary, and she was my secretary, has been my secretary since 1991.
And when you presented the redrafted language, Erica McGill, were you there?
I was.
And were you there when she signed it?
I was.
I asked that you marked this time. That's exhibit.
No, if I may, I would be, well, I'll pass it.
in any event, that will be admitted as exhibit number 2,
Thank you.
which is the 2010.
At the point where you had brought back what's just been marked as Exhibit 2 for examination by Ms. McGill, did you have an opportunity to observe Ms. McGill?
Yes,
How far away from her were you?
I was right next to her bed.
You had an opportunity to speak with her about what you were doing and what she wanted done.
Yes. When I went earlier in the afternoon, I had spent, approximately a half hour, 45 minutes talking to her. It took me less than an hour. My office is right over the street to go back and make the change and then bring witnesses. So when I came back, I spent probably another half hour.
In the course of your practice, in the part of your practice dealing with the drafting of wills, have you had occasion in the past to deal with elderly clients?
Yes.
And is there something in particular that you look for when you're handling the drafting of a will for an elderly person?
Sure. You want to make sure that they're aware of what they're doing and that they're competent to make decisions.
What kinds of things do you look for personally when you're interacting with an elderly person who's drafting a will?
Well, you want to make sure that they're aware of what's going on, where they are, what they're doing, why they're doing it. Obviously, I knew Erica for a number of years, so I had a basis to judge whether she seemed to be aware of what she was doing. She seemed very aware of what she was doing. She was, as I said, her anxiety concerned surgery the next day. She was just, concerned about going through the surgery. And I believe her leg might have been in traction, so, she was getting ready for the surgery.
In the course of your discussion with Ms. McGill about what her intentions were as far as her property, did she say anything about wanting to leave her property to David St. Hilaire?
No.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did she indicate anything with respect to other parties that weren't named in her will that she wished to leave property to?
No, she essentially what she said was, she had left her property, which was basically her house, to Lucille, and that because Lucille passed away, she just wanted to be sure that Lisa would be able to get the house because Lisa had, in fact, she told me that Lisa took care of both her and her mother.
The answer will be stricken as not responsive to the question that was asked.
Let me ask you again, was there any other party that Ms. McGill indicated an intention to pass her property to?
In July of 2010, no.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
In cross-examination.
Thank you. Attorney Donoghue, when does a will become effective? Are these flowers in the way here?
I can look around and it's okay.
In your 30 years of practice, when does a will become effective? Or when does a will take effect?
Well, I guess when you say take effect, when I don't know what you mean by that question.
Well, if you were to leave property to someone in a will, when would that property pass to the person you left it to?
Well, I think that would be when the person died.
The person died.
Yeah.
And in your 30 years of practice, would you say that someone could execute a will, change their mind after the will was executed?
Sure.
When did you become aware of this situation with Erica and Mr. St. Hilaire?
You mean the deed that was signed that Mr. St. Hilaire brought to her? I became aware of that, I think, within a day or so after Mr. St. Hilaire brought a deed to the nursing home to Wingate for her to sign.
And how did you become aware of that? Do you remember?
I believe I got a phone call from, it would have been Lisa or a member of the family.
So, and Lisa is the same Lisa that was the beneficiary under the will you prepared?
Right, and she had been her healthcare proxy, she did her banking, I think,
If you just try to answer the
Same person, yeah.
And so she called you because she found out that Erica had in fact sold her property to David St. Hilaire.
No, she didn't know what she did. She called me because her roommate, the roommate.
Your Honor, I don't think the answers are responsible.
With respect, Your Honor, I think the question was a leading question.
Well, he's entitled to ask a leading question, although there might have been something else objectionable concerning that question. I think the response is as best she can to the question that you asked.
Thank you.
So are you aware that, or is your testimony that Lisa Melee called you after she was aware that Erica signed the deed transferring her property to Mr. St. Hilaire?
I believe what Lisa called me based on, and I want to, what Carmen Cormier told her, and Lisa didn't know what was signed. And so she asked if I could come see Erica at Wingate, which I did.
You never gave a statement to the police, did you?
I don't recall. I don't recall if I did or not.
And
I do. I don't recall.
well, you were never videotaped by the police.
No.
Did you? Once you got received a phone call from Lisa or whoever called you to make you aware of this, did you then contact the police?
I don't think I did. I went over to Wingate within the day. I don't know if it was that day or the next day, but I did go over to Wingate.
So did you ever talk to Chief LaValle, the Lowell police chief, about this matter?
I don't think so. I don't recall.
And you're a former city councilor, correct, in Lowell?
Yes.
And a former mayor of the city, correct?
Right.
Did you ever talk to the district attorney, Mr. Leone, about this matter?
No. I did call the city manager about it.
You spoke to the city manager
Yes.
about this? And Mr. St. Hilaire at the time was a city employee.
Correct.
How about Detective Hultman? Did you ever talk to Detective Hultman about
I
this?
did talk to him once, yeah.
And what was that conversation about? Do you recall?
Yes. Detective Hulkren was looking for what records I might have had, and the discussion concerned records, and I felt I needed an order from the probate court in order to release the records. So it always concerned records.
And what record? Did you present some records to Detective Hultman?
I think it was the wills, and then there were medical records.
And what about the deed and the mortgage?
No, I didn't have those.
How long have you known David St. Hilaire?
Well, I would think since I was a member of the Lowell City Council, I knew that Mr. St. Hilaire worked for the building department, so that would have been back in '96.
And have you ever had any personal dealings with Mr. St. Hilaire?
No.
Have you ever represented Lisa Melee or Mealy?
No.
May I approach you on?
Right.
Attorney Donoghue, we're going to show you a document dated July 18, 2001. I think we just presented new evidence. That's the will that you prepared for Erica in 2001?
It is, yeah.
And do you remember in 2001, did Erica come to your office to have that will prepared?
Yes.
And you went over the will with her?
Yes.
And you went over paragraph 1 with her?
Yeah.
And paragraph 2?
Yeah.
Paragraph 3?
Yeah.
And what about paragraph 4?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
There is no paragraph 4 in this will, is there?
Oh, wait a minute. There's a Roman numeral 5. Sorry.
So there's no paragraph 4 in that will?
Yeah, it's Roman numeral 5. Sorry.
And you witnessed that will, correct?
I did,
That
yeah.
signature. And Beverly Woods,
I'm sorry, is that yes?
Yes,
and Beverly Woods, is that your secretary?
yes,
She notarized it?
she did.
And then you said you got a call on July the 13th of 2010.
I believe that was the day,
And
the same day that she signed the will.
And who called you that day?
I think it was Lisa Miller.
Lisa, who got the beneficiary of that will that was signed on July the 13th. And you said you brought the old will over to Erica and you went over it with her? Or you...
I don't know that I brought it. I looked at it before I went over, and when I went over, she just said that, as I said, I didn't know that Lucille had passed away. She just wanted to make sure her paperwork was in order.
And so when you brought this new will over to the hospital,
Yeah.
you brought it over yourself,
The second time I went back to the hospital, I did, yeah.
and you were with the witnesses and the notary at that time?
Right.
What time of day was that?
It was afternoon. It was probably, at that point, it might have been 3 o'clock, 3:30,
Yeah.
something like that.
And you sat with Erica,
Yeah,
and you went over this new will with Erica.
I did.
And you went over Article 1
Yep,
and Article 2
yep,
and Article 3
right.
and Article 4.
There's no 4. It's Roman number 5.
So
The only change we made was to who the beneficiary was under Article 3.
And you did not notarize this will.
No, I didn't. I don't think I had my seal with me, so Beverly Woods, I think it was Beverly Woods,
Yeah.
notarized it.
And you did not witness it either.
No.
The people you witnessed it, who were the names again of the people who witnessed it?
Shayla Kennedy and Matthew Ginger.
And Shayla Kennedy, who is that?
She's my niece.
And she lives with you, doesn't she?
She does.
And who is, and how old is she?
29? And she knew Erica. Oh, I'm sorry.
And this second witness?
Matthew Ginger.
And how old is he?
He's probably 21 or 22.
Had he ever met Erica before?
I don't think so, no.
And Beverly Woods is your secretary.
Correct.
Now, draw your attention to Erica's signature on this will.
Right.
Did Erica have a hard time signing that paper?
She was in bed. She was, as I recall, her leg was in traction and she was in bed. She always had kind of like a shaky signature, but, she certainly was, she signed it.
She did. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She signed it. And that was 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, I think it was sometime late afternoon, whether it was
Late
3 or 4, somewhere around that time.
Now, you were aware, may I stay here or should I go back? Fine. You were aware that Erica was lying.
Right,
And you were aware that she was going to have surgery the next day.
right,
And she was an 86-year-old woman at this point.
right.
Were you aware at that time, Counselor, that she had been transported to the emergency room at 2:55 a.m. that morning?
I just knew that she had fallen at home sometime like during the night.
And that she had been admitted to the hospital at 5:55 that morning?
I didn't know the time.
You knew it was...
I knew it was within, this was in the afternoon, and I knew that she had fallen the night before at home and had to go to the hospital.
Right. Did you know that she had received pain medication in the emergency room?
No.
Did you know that at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock that afternoon, she had received several intravenous shots of morphine?
No, she didn't. I didn't know. I wouldn't have known.
But she had had a long day, obviously.
Oh, sure.
Now, did you continue to visit Erica at the hospital, at Saints Hospital, when she was there? After the 13th?
I did see her. if I can explain. She left Saints, she had her surgery the next day, and then I think it was within a couple of days she left Saints to go to Wingate. Then she came back to Saints, and I know I did went to see her, and second time at Saints.
Back at Saints.
Yeah. So between her surgery and the day or two, or a couple of days when she went to Wingate, I don't think I saw her then. I saw her at Wingate, and I saw her back at Saints.
And the second time she went back to Saints, she had a stroke or slipped into a coma? Or...
She was in a coma. She didn't come out of it.
Right. Hey, one moment, you want, please?
Yeah.
Now, Attorney Donoghue, prior to July 26th, had you
Which year?
had you seen a proposed deed?
July 26th of which year?
Oh, I'm sorry, 2010. Prior to July 26th of 2010, had you seen a proposed deed from Erica to David St. Hilaire?
No.
Had you seen a life estate, a proposed life estate from David St. Hilaire to Erica McGill?
No.
Had you seen copies of proposed mortgages that David St. Hilaire would be giving to Erica McGill?
No.
Did Erica ever speak to you about a life estate with David St. Hilaire?
No.
Did Erica ever speak to you about selling her property to David St. Hilaire?
Not selling. Oh, and prior to 2010, she had occasion to tell me that David St. Hilaire wanted her property, but she didn't want it to be developed and didn't want to sell it to him.
That was prior to 2010.
Prior to 2010.
Isn't it true, Attorney Donoghue, that on July the 21st, Lisa Melee called you and said that she was aware that Erica wanted to sell or was going to sell her property to David St. Hilaire?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall Lisa Melee calling you on July the 21st?
No, I don't recall that. I recall getting a call, as I said, I think it was whatever date that the paperwork was signed, within a day I got a call about that she signed something, but it wasn't clear what it was that she had signed.
Now, Erica never called you prior to July 13th of 2010 to change your will, is that correct?
No. She, as I said, I wasn't aware that Lucille Chrisman had passed away. She just wanted to make sure everything was in order before she went into surgery. So.
And you weren't aware of that until July 13th?
That Lucille Chrisman had passed away? No, that was the first. I didn't know Lucille Chrisman, so it wouldn't have been a name that I would have noticed if it was in the paper or anything.
Did you ever draw up a power of attorney for Erica McGill for anybody?
I don't think so.
Did you ever petition the probate court to appoint a guardian for Erica McGill?
No.
Have you, and you're the executrix under the new will, correct?
Right.
Have you, since July 26th of 2010, commence any civil action in the civil courts to kind of negate the effect of the deed that Eric had signed?
No.
Eric ever call you about estate planning prior to July 13th, 2010?
She really didn't have an estate. She had her house. That was really her only property. She didn't have life insurance. I think she had prepaid her funeral. She had her, Social Security or pension, but that was it. It was just a working checking account. There were no assets.
Now, you said earlier that you spoke to the city manager about this matter.
Right.
In the city of Lowell, the city manager kind of runs the day-to-day operation of the city. Is that right?
That's right.
And Mr. St. Hilaire, as a city employee, he would report to the city manager. Is that correct?
Correct.
And what was your conversation with the city manager about?
The conversation, the reason I called the city manager, this was after Erica had passed away in August 10th, and we were trying to arrange her funeral, and it came to my attention that Mr. St. Hilaire had already occupied Erica's house, had changed the locks on the house. We weren't able to get access to her personal property, but more importantly, there was a concern that her deceased husband's ashes were in the house. And so I contacted the city manager because this was a matter that was just unfolding, and asked him to just made him aware of the situation and asked him to speak with Mr. St. Hilaire about giving us access or getting us access for her personal property, but in particular the ashes of her late husband.
And Mr. St. Hilaire complied with that?
He did. And I believe he delivered the ashes to the funeral home.
How long, now again, you said you met Erica in like mid-1990s or 19...
Yeah, it would have been, I don't know exact year, but it would have been after, I became a member of the city council. So sometime 1996 or thereafter.
So you would have known Erica for approximately 14, 15 years as she passed away?
14 anyway.
I think you described earlier that you said she was a character.
She was a character.
Was she street smart?
I don't know how you describe it. She was 86. She was.
I'll strike that. Was she independent?
She was independent as much as a woman who has no driver's license, and but she lived independently, if that's what you mean.
Was she fun?
She could be, yeah.
Did she use salty language from time to time?
She did.
Would you describe her as being nobody's fool?
I don't think, I wouldn't call her a fool at all.
Counsel, did you advise Erica at some point about putting Lisa Mealy on her checking account?
No.
That's fine, thank you. No further questions, Your Honor, thank you.
Just briefly, Your Honor, you described that you had a role as executrix in the winding up of the estate. After Mr. St. Hilaire had taken possession of Ms. McGill's home, what else was there to distribute?
There was nothing else, other than maybe her clothing or personal effects. She had nothing else.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you, Attorney Donoghue.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hakim. Yes, thank you.